Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others. If you have a garden and a library, you have everything you need. The life of the dead is placed in the memory of the living. The higher we are placed, the more humbly we should walk. Any man can make mistakes, but only an idiot persists in his error. Friendship improves happiness and abates misery by the doubling of our joy and the dividing of our grief. Glory follows virtue as if it were its shadow. An unjust peace is better than a just war. Live as brave men, and if fortune is adverse, front its blows with brave hearts. The enemy is within the gates. It is with our own luxury, our own folly, our own criminality that we have to contend. The sinews of war are infinite money. While there's life, there's hope. Silence is one of the great arts of conversation. More law, less justice. A home without books is a body without soul. It is the peculiar quality of a fool to perceive the faults of others and to forget his own. Nothing is more noble, nothing more venerable than fidelity. Faithfulness and truth are the most sacred excellences and endowments of the human mind. The safety of the people shall be the highest law. The function of wisdom is to discriminate between good and evil. Love is the attempt to form a friendship inspired by beauty. It is not by muscle, speed, or physical dexterity that great things are achieved, but by reflection, force of character, and judgment. Memory is the treasury and guardian of all things. I prefer tongue-tied knowledge to ignorant loquacity. When you have no basis for an argument, abuse the plaintiff. Death is not natural for a state as it is for a human being, for whom death is not only necessary, but frequently even desirable. The greatest pleasures are only narrowly separated from disgust. A friend is, as it were, a second self. Brevity is a great charm of eloquence. The wise are instructed by reason, average minds by experience, the stupid by necessity and the brute by instinct. The greater the difficulty, the greater the glory. There is nothing so absurd that some philosopher has not already said it. I am not ashamed to confess that I am ignorant of what I do not know. The countenance is the portrait of the soul, and Guy's mark its intentions. The precepts of the law are these: to live honestly, to injure no one, and to give everyone else his due. Knowledge which is divorced from justice may be called cunning, rather than wisdom. The spirit is the true self, the spirit, the will to win, and the will to excel are the things that endure. So near is falsehood to truth that a wise man would do well not to trust himself on the narrow edge. It is foolish to tear one's hair in grief, as though sorrow would be made less by baldness. The authority of those who teach is often an obstacle to those who want to learn. Justice consists in doing no injury to men, decency in giving them no offence. Freedom is a possession of inestimable value. Of all nature's gifts to the human race, what is sweeter to a man than his children? Nothing is so strongly fortified that it cannot be taken by money. Though silence is not necessarily an admission, it is not a denial either. Old age, the crown of life, are play's last act. The study and knowledge of the universe would somehow be lame and effective were no practical results to follow. Take from a man his reputation for probity, and the more shrewd and clever he is, the more hated and mistrusted he becomes. Great is the power of habit. It teaches us to bear fatigue and to despise wounds and pain. Brevity is the best recommendation of speech, whether in a senator or an orator. In a republic this rule ought to be observed, that the majority should not have the predominant power. I never admire another's fortune so much that I became dissatisfied with my own. Those wars are unjust which are undertaken without provocation, for only a war waged for revenge or defence can be just. Natural ability without Education has more often attained to glory and virtue than education without natural ability. Freedom is a man's natural power of doing what he pleases, so far as he is not prevented by force or law. No one was ever great without some portion of divine inspiration. Liberty consists in the power of doing that which is permitted by the law. Advice in old age is foolish, for what can be more absurd than to increase our provisions for the road the nearer we approach to our journey's end? What nobler employment, or more valuable to the state, than that of the man who instructs the rising generation? The only excuse for war is that we may live in peace unharmed. Confidence is that feeling by which the mind embarks in great and honourable courses with a sure hope and trust in itself. Rightly defined philosophy is simply the love of wisdom. Nature has planted in our minds an insatiable longing to see the truth. Every man's reputation proceeds from those of his own household. In doubtful cases, the more liberal interpretation must always be preferred. We must conceive of this whole universe as one commonwealth of which both gods and men are members. No poet or orator has ever existed who believed there was any better than himself. It might be pardonable to refuse to defend some men, but to defend them negligently is nothing short of criminal. It shows nobility to be willing to increase your debt to a man to whom you already owe much. O wretched man, wretched not just because of what you are, but also because you do not know how wretched you are. Justice is the set and constant purpose, which gives every man his due. People do not understand what a great revenue economy is. In everything, satiety closely follows the greatest pleasures. All pain is either severe or slight. If slight, it is easily endured. If severe, it will without doubt be brief. Hatreds not thou and concealed are to be feared more than those openly declared. What gift has Providence bestowed on man that is so dear to him as his children? I add this, that rational ability without education has oftener raised man to glory and virtue than education without natural ability. Every man can tell how many goats or sheep he possesses, but not how many friends. What one has, one ought to use, and whatever he should do with all his might. Laws should be interpreted in a liberal sense so that their intention may be preserved. This is the truth. As from a fire a flame thousands of sparks come forth, even so from the Creator an infinity of beings have life and to him return again. The long time to come, when I shall not exist, has more effect on me than this short present time, which nevertheless seems endless. When you are aspiring to the highest place, it is honourable to reach the second or even the third rank. He only employs his passion who can make no use of his reason. If I err in belief that the souls of men are immortal, I gladly err, nor do I wish this error which gives me pleasure to be wrested from me while I live. A tear dries quickly when it is shed for troubles of others. He does not seem to me to be a free man who does not sometimes do nothing. The magistrates are the ministers for the laws. The judges their interpreters. The rest of us are servants of the law, that we all may be free. No obligation to do the impossible is binding. That last day does not bring extinction to us, but change of place. Please subscribe iqaliquotes.